becoming more and more obvious. Yankees fans, the outfield we're used to seeing in pinstripes could look completely different next season. All eyes are on Brian Cashman right now. Every move he makes in the next few months could reshape the future of this franchise, especially with the Cody Bellinger situation heating up and questions swirling around multiple positions. There's no offseason when you're talking about the Yankees. It's a constant cycle of building, breaking, reacting, and hopefully winning. Now, let's talk about what might have been one of the most underrated steals of the offseason. No, not Max Fried, although that move was a lead in its own right, but the deal that brought Cody Bellinger to the Bronx. All the Yankees gave up was Cody Poteet, who didn't even stick with the Cubs after the trade. He got designated for assignment, which basically means Bellinger came to the Yankees for next to nothing. Well, aside from the paycheck. But money aside, the return on investment? Absolutely worth it. Cody Bellinger has been everything the Yankees hoped for, and more. Through this point in the season, he's batting .270 with 22 home runs, an OPS over .800, and he's carrying a slugging percentage just shy of .500. You don't need to be a stat nerd to understand how valuable that is. This version of Bellinger looks like the one that won MVP. Confident, consistent, and clutch. He's not just filling a role. He's been a true difference maker, arguably the best bat on the roster, not named Aaron Judge. And yeah, we should probably be talking about how he got snubbed from the All-Star game, but the guy's not sweating it. He's clearly locked in on something bigger. Now, we've seen plenty of comebacks in baseball. Players who flash for a bit then fade again. But this isn't just a hot streak. This is the third straight strong season for Bellinger. Those down years in 2021 and 2022, they're way back in the rearview mirror. He's figured something out. Even without the monster exit velocity numbers, he's producing consistently. That's what makes him so valuable now. Not just what he's doing, but how reliable he's become. Since June alone, he's posted an OPS over .850, slugging above .520, and is hitting close to .290. It's no exaggeration to say he's been one of the top performers in the entire lineup during that stretch. And here's where the story gets even more interesting, because Bellinger has a player option coming up, and everyone knows it. If he decides to opt out, he's hitting the market as one of the premier free agents available. And let's be honest, if he doesn't take the opt-out after the season he's having, he probably never will. This is the moment. This is the window where he can cash in big. And as much as Yankee fans want to dream about keeping him in the Bronx long-term, there are serious financial questions ahead. The Cubs originally structured the deal to include a $2.5 million kicker, money that either goes toward the player option salary or the buyout, depending on the path Bellinger chooses. Either way, he's guaranteed a bag. But now the real question is, will that next bag come from the Yankees? Or will another team swoop in with a long-term offer too big to pass up? This is where things get tricky for Brian Cashman and the Yankees front office. Because, sure, they want to keep Bellinger. Who wouldn't? But when you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, the Yankees have a lot of pieces to sort out, especially on offense. The pitching staff is shaping up well. You're going into next season expecting a healthy Garrett Cole, a hopefully blister-free Max Fried, and Carlos Rodon holding down the top three. Will Warren seems to be a long-term piece now, and Luis Gil still has upside. So the arms are looking strong. But the offense? That's where the work begins. First base is an open question. Is Ben Rice the long-term solution there? Is he better suited behind the plate? And what does that mean for Austin Wells? Is he the everyday catcher moving forward, or will the team eventually pivot to another option? Then you've got shortstop. Anthony Volpe has shown flashes, but is he going to be the guy for the long haul? Or are the Yankees going to explore upgrades, either through free agency or via trade? Second base is probably the one spot that's relatively locked down with Jazz Chisholm, assuming the team keeps him. And third base remains a question, depending on what they decide to do with Ryan McMahon. He's under contract, so they could stick with him, but that doesn't necessarily mean they won't explore other options. The infield needs clarity. It needs production, and that means money, and lots of it. Now, stack all of that up against the Bellinger situation. You got an outfield that, next year, will feature Aaron Judge. That's a given, and probably Jason Dominguez, assuming he's not dealt in some kind of blockbuster. That leaves one outfield spot up for grabs. Trent Grisham? He's a free agent, and from what we're hearing, the expectation is that he'll be signing elsewhere. So do the Yankees bring back Bellinger and lock down that outfield trio? Or do they roll the dice on someone younger, someone cheaper? And don't forget about Spencer Jones. That's another name people around the team are watching closely. He could be the future of this outfield. So again, it comes down to timing. Bellinger is proven. He's now. But Jones is the future. And with big contracts already on the books and more looming, Cashman has some serious balancing to do. But here's the thing. Bellinger is doing his part, and then some. He's not out there trying to stir up drama or talk contracts mid-season. When asked about his future, he gave the classic pro answer. He's focused on the games ahead. Over 40 left to play, and his agent, Scott Boras, is handling the rest. And look, when Boras is in the picture, you already know the goal. Top dollar, long-term deal, plain and simple. Bellinger knows what he's doing. He's done this dance before when he hit free agency the first time and signed with the Cubs. He's not new to this. And now, with one of his best seasons since his MVP campaign, he's positioned perfectly to go get paid again. Whether that's in the Bronx or elsewhere remains to be seen. But credit to him, he's handled everything with complete professionalism. When asked about the Yankees, he had nothing but praise. Said he loves the organization, the way they operate, the people in the locker room. Called Judge one of the best players on earth, and said he genuinely enjoys playing alongside him. He even talked about how special it is playing at Yankee Stadium. And sure, that might sound like typical free agent lip service, but you can tell it's genuine. He likes it here. But liking it and staying are two very different things in this business. Let's not kid ourselves. As much as players talk about culture and chemistry and loving their teammates, this is a game that comes down to money and opportunity. If another team throws out a massive offer with a long-term commitment, it's going to be hard to say no. And you can't blame the guy. Anyone in his position would do the same. Especially now, when he's proven he can produce at a high level again. There's no reason not to chase the bag. That's just the nature of the league right now. These are the kinds of things players pay attention to, especially veterans who have been around the block, especially guys who know what it's like to win. If the Yankees want to keep Bellinger around, they have to prove they're serious. Not just about the money, but about building a winner. That's what Bellinger said himself. He wants to play with guys who are hungry to win. He wants to be part of something that matters. He's been in enough dugouts by now to know when the culture is right. And if the Yankees can convince him that the culture here is still championship caliber, then maybe, just maybe, he sticks around. But if not, there are plenty of teams out there that would love to add a veteran outfielder with pop, discipline, postseason experience, and leadership. And plenty of them are going to come calling this offseason. If the Yankees want him, they better come correct, because he's not going to wait around. And while Cody Bellinger's future is up in the air, you can't talk about the Yankees without circling back to the bigger picture. Because the truth is, it's not just about one guy. It's about an entire core that needs to come together, and fast. The fan base has been patient, but patience wears thin when expectations are sky high and you're not getting deep October runs. The Yankees aren't just supposed to be competitive. They're supposed to be contending for a World Series every single year. And when that doesn't happen, when the team falls short or gets bounced early, the pressure only multiplies. Which brings us back to the question, what is this front office going to do differently this time? If the goal is to keep Bellinger, build around Judge, and bring in the right talent to actually compete, then this can't be another quiet offseason. The margin for error is shrinking, and Cashman knows it. The Yankees have too many question marks around the diamond to afford to stand pat. And it's not just about positional holes, it's about identity. What kind of team are the Yankees trying to be? Are they built on power? On contact? Defense? Are they investing in a balance of veteran experience and young talent? Or is it still a hodgepodge of short-term solutions and long-term gambles? Because from the outside, it hasn't always been clear. For the last few seasons, fans have watched the team swing between extremes. One year they load up on big names, the next they try to go cheap. One year it's all about youth, the next year it's aging vets on bloated contracts. You look at how other teams have built, teams like the Braves, the Dodgers, even the Orioles now. and you see a cohesive strategy, a real blueprint. With the Yankees, it still feels like they're in the middle of figuring that out. And that's not where you want to be when you've got a superstar like Aaron Judge in his prime. You don't waste those years. You build around them. You maximize every single window you've got, which is why the Bellinger situation is more than just a contract debate. It's a symbol of where the Yankees stand. Are they going to commit to this guy who's proved he can handle New York, who's delivered consistently, who's a left-handed bat with power and experience? Or are they going to let him walk and try to piece things together with improving talent and hope it works out signings? This offseason will answer a lot of those questions. And then there's the youth movement. Everyone keeps talking about Jason Dominguez, about Spencer Jones, about how the next generation of Yankee stars is just around the corner. But how much are the Yankees really banking on that? Dominguez has incredible upside, no doubt. He's a switch hitter with power and speed, and his ceiling is sky high. But he's still young, still raw, and coming off an injury. Spencer Jones? Same story. Tons of potential, but still finding his way. You can't hang your whole offensive future on two guys who haven't even logged a full season in the big leagues. That's where a player like Bellinger becomes even more valuable. He gives you production right now, but also bridges the gap. He's still in his prime. He's been through the ups and downs of the league. He knows how to win, and he knows how to bounce back when things go wrong. That kind of experience is exactly what a young core needs to grow. You can't teach that kind of poise. And if the Yankees are serious about blending their youth with veteran presence, it's hard to imagine a better fit than Bellinger. But of course, there's always the other side of the coin. Financially, this isn't just about handing out a check. The Yankees are already carrying big money deals. Judge, Cole, Rodon, Fried, possibly others if they extend someone else. And Hal Steinbrenner has made it pretty clear that they're going to be mindful of payroll. Which sounds nice until it means letting key contributors walk out the door over a few $1 million. Now look, nobody's saying you should throw money around recklessly. But there's a difference between smart spending and penny pinching. Letting Bellinger leave after the year he's having, that might end up being a mistake the Yankees regret for a long time. Especially if he signs somewhere else and keeps raking. And with Scott Boras calling the shots, you already know there are going to be multiple teams ready to throw big offers on the table. Teams with less pressure, more flexibility, and a clearer runway to build around him. That's what the Yankees are competing with. Not just money, but opportunity. And let's be real. If the Yankees drag their feet or send mixed signals, someone else will swoop in. That's the part that can't be overstated here. Communication. Players talk. Agents talk. The league is a lot smaller than people think. If the Yankees are serious about keeping Bellinger, they need to start those conversations early and be clear about where they stand. Because if they let this drag out into the winter, if they wait too long, that door might close. And once it does, there's no going back. Meanwhile, there's still a full team to manage. That infield, as we mentioned, is far from settled. Ben Rice's role isn't clear. Austin Wells is still proving himself. Anthony Volpe has talent, but he's yet to lock down shortstop with the kind of consistency the Yankees hope for. Ryan McMahon is under contract but could end up being trade bait if they go another direction. Jazz Chisholm is a spark plug, but also a question mark when it comes to long-term fit. You start adding all that up, and suddenly the offense looks like a giant puzzle with missing pieces. Because this isn't just about Bellinger. It's about what kind of team the Yankees want to be from this point forward. But before we continue, please remember to join our channel and give this video a like. Your support allows us to keep bringing you the latest news about the New York Yankees. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments. In what has rapidly become the most shocking development of the baseball offseason, whispers began circulating late last night that the New York Yankees, the sport's most decorated and scrutinized franchise, have managed to pull off a move that few thought was even remotely possible. Securing the services of Pete Alonso, the power-hitting first baseman who has long been the face of the New York Mets. While official press releases remain carefully worded and short on details, insiders close to both organizations are buzzing that a deal has indeed been finalized, and that Alonso, known across Major League Baseball as the Polar Bear, will don pinstripes in the upcoming season. The news has spread like wildfire through front offices, clubhouses, and fan bases alike, stirring both elation and outrage. Rarely does a player so closely tied to one New York team switch allegiances to the other, and even more rarely does it happen with someone considered a generational power hitter. Alonso has not only been the Mets' most reliable slugger since his arrival in 2019, but also a player who connected deeply with the fan base, embodying the grit, energy, and youthful defiance that define the club's most recent identity. For him to cross town feels almost like the rewriting of a long-standing rivalry's rules, a shift in the city's baseball power dynamic that will undoubtedly fuel debates for years to come. The circumstances surrounding Alonso's move are, at this moment, wrapped in speculation, rumor, and fragments of behind-the-scenes whispers. Some voices within the Mets' orbit claim that ownership had grown weary of the mounting pressure to extend Alonso with a blockbuster contract, and that an unwillingness to meet his long-term demands may have quietly opened the door for the Yankees' audacious approach. Others insist that the Yankees, after enduring another season of falling short in October, decided to make a statement so loud and unmistakable that it would reassert their reputation as baseball's most aggressive and fearless franchise. The mere idea of Alonso hitting home runs into the short porch in right field at Yankee Stadium has already sparked fever analysis among broadcasters and analysts, many of whom argue that the ballpark's dimensions could elevate his already prodigious power numbers to historic levels. Yet beneath the surface, questions linger about the psychology of such a switch. How will Alonso, beloved by Mets fans and vilified by Yankee supporters for years, adapt to the sudden reversal of loyalties? How will Mets fans cope with the gut punch of seeing their star slugger wear the rival's colors, not through free agency years from now, but in a move that feels like a sudden betrayal? These questions, left unanswered, are precisely what make this story feel less like a simple trade and more like a bombshell that detonates in the heart of a city defined by its baseball divisions. While the mechanics of the acquisition remain hazy, several unconfirmed reports suggest that the Yankees parted with a considerable package of young talent, including some of their top pitching prospects, to entice the Mets into what is already being described as an unprecedented crosstown transaction. Names like Spencer Jones and Chase Hampton have been floated in these conversations, though without official confirmation. The true cost of Alonso remains cloaked in mystery. What is undeniable, however, is the magnitude of the Yankees' gamble. They have taken one of the National League's most fearsome power bats and transported him directly into the American League East meat grinder, where every division game is already a high-stakes war. The message from the Yankees front office is unmistakable. They're tired of watching October slip away, tired of being overshadowed by the Astros and the Red Sox, and determined to reclaim a dominance that feels increasingly like a memory rather than a birthright. For the Mets, the optics are undeniably brutal. Their fan base has endured decades of being cast as the city's other team, always fighting for respectability against the monolith in the Bronx. To see their brightest star handed over to that very monolith, no matter the return, risks fueling a narrative of inferiority that has haunted them for generations. What makes this saga particularly intoxicating for the baseball world is not just the mechanics of the trade itself, but the human drama and cultural symbolism tied to Alonso's migration. Pete Alonso was not merely a home run hitter for the Mets. He was their identity. The player who launched 53 homers as a rookie, the guy who brought energy to Citi Field, the one who openly embraced being the face of the franchise. He represented hope, consistency, and the belief that the Mets could build around him to compete for a championship. By contrast, the Yankees are a franchise built on tradition, history, and the ceaseless pursuit of star power. In Alonso, they acquire not just a hitter, but a brand, a presence that aligns with their decades-long philosophy of stacking stars upon stars. The city's baseball landscape will now be defined by a single player caught between two worlds: the loyalty he cultivated in Queens and the opportunity he now embraces in the Bronx. Rivalries, which thrive on narrative tension, have been handed their most dramatic twist in decades. Every Subway Series game will carry the weight of Alonso's decision. Every at-bat will echo with jeers and cheers. Every headline will revisit the impossible. Pete Alonso, no longer a Met, but a Yankee. As the dust settles, what comes next remains as intriguing as the news itself. How will Aaron Judge, the Yankees' undisputed leader and superstar, mesh with Alonso's powerful presence in the middle of the lineup? Will the clubhouse chemistry benefit from the injection of a new voice and a proven winner, or will egos inevitably clash under the bright lights of New York? And perhaps more importantly, what is the long-term fallout for the Mets, who must now recalibrate not only their roster, but their entire identity after losing the player who defined their aspirations? For Mets fans, the sting of betrayal may linger for years, manifesting in boos, bitterness, and endless what-ifs about what Alonso could have meant had he stayed in Queens. For Yankees fans, the move could cement a new era of dominance, or it could serve as another high-priced experiment that falters under the weight of expectations. Baseball thrives on moments that transcend box scores, that seep into the culture of the sport and the soul of its cities. This deal, true or rumor, real or exaggerated, has already accomplished that. Pete Alonso in pinstripes is not just a transaction. It is an earthquake, one that will reverberate through the boroughs, the ballparks, and the very heart of Major League Baseball for a generation. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the New York Yankees, please subscribe to our channel and give us a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.